Record to the cloud. Brilliant. Okay, so good evening, everybody, and welcome to February's demo, which is Fall in Love with Your Thermomix, or something like that. We hopefully are going to show you this evening why we love Thermomix. And we've personally selected some recipes that are going to demonstrate exactly why we fell in love with our Thermomix originally and why we continue to love them. We'd love to hear from you on the chat as to why you love your Thermomix as well. So please do put that on the chat this evening. We're just going to whiz around everybody to start with and introduce ourselves very, very briefly. I don't want this to take more than 5 minutes because we've got a lot to get through this evening. So I'll kick off and then we'll just move around. And Louise, I think you've spotlighted everybody, haven't you? Let me just remove that message from my laptop screen. There we go. So my name's Lindsay, otherwise known as the Thermomix Whiz. I'm a team leader now for Thermomix. I'm also a trained chef. I'm one of those really annoying people that said I would never have a Thermomix, and now I think I've got 5. So there you go. It shows that I can be wrong sometimes, and I completely changed my mind about Thermomix. And this is why I'm really passionate about getting people to see it firsthand, because everybody's got a view about what Thermomix is about. It's not necessarily right. I thought it wasn't for me because I love to cook and I love to do everything from scratch. How wrong was I? It's not often that you will hear me admit that I was wrong, but I'm very happy to admit it on this occasion. I absolutely love my Thermomix. I've been an owner now for 5 years. I was an owner before I became an advisor. Oh, let me just shut that down. And I am a complete super geek about it. I love doing my own recipes, making my own creations, but also I love looking through the cookie dough recipes and getting lots of inspiration. If you're not already part of my Thermomix Whiz community on Facebook, please do feel free to join. We have got a fantastic community now of pushing nearly 2,000 members. I hope you find it a valuable resource. I love the fact that my customers enjoy sharing the recipes, sharing the creations that they've made. I love sharing everything that I love about Thermomix with you as well. So that is me. Oh, and I'm 46 tomorrow as well. So it's my birthday. So an extra special celebration of everything that we love tonight. Right, let's hand over to, I think let's go to Cutty. Oh, she's not ready. She got
Hi, sorry, I'm leading away as well. Just turn it up for a sec. I am Cutty. I used to ride and compete event horses for a living. I bought the Thermomix my husband because I didn't want to get him for his birthday, so felt generous of getting one of these. And ever since, we've been eating amazingly. What I loved about it is it cuts out all the additives and preservatives. Especially for the children. Variety of eating has got massive now, and the kids are eating so many different things, and it's all healthy eating. You can just control everything that goes into it. And now I seem like I can cook, which I couldn't before.
Brilliant. Okay, let's whiz over to Claire.
Sorry, just turn my mute off. Hi, I'm Claire. I have been an advisor for 8 years now. I think I can beat Lindsay because I own 7 Thermomixes from the TM31 through the TM5 and the TM6s. Most of them are actually in use in the cafe where I work sometimes. My children have them because they've all left home now, and my partner has one because he doesn't live with me, which is really good. Yeah, so I absolutely love it. I started as a customer with the TM31, and when they launched the TM5, I had to have one, and so that's why I became an advisor to earn it. And obviously it's gone on from there, and yes, I'm now
You've never left.
3 TM6s I haven't left.
Great, and we're very glad that you haven't as well, Claire. Let's go over to Sue very quickly.
Hello, I'm Sue Hamilton, and I have been an advisor now for 2 years. I started off as a customer a year prior to that when cooking in my household was a disaster. I was very bored of cooking the same things. I had children who liked different things. I had a vegetarian, a non-vegetarian, somebody who loved meat, and it was very, very complicated, and none of them ate the things that I really love to eat. So the things that I love about the Thermomix is it's introduced my kids to more foods, more variety. I can cook delicious stuff just for me if I want to cook something that I really love. I also know exactly what's going into my food because I have a gluten-free, dairy-free son, and I have to do lots of adaptations for that. And it helps make all of that a whole lot easier. I know exactly what's going into our food, and I love all the different recipes that I can cook. So that's me, and I'll be sharing some of my favourite recipes later on.
Great. And finally, last but not least, let's have a little hello to Louise, who's doing our chat this evening. I'm very excited to have Louise in the team. She's an award-winning author, children's cookbook author, podcaster. She has been featured on lots of radio shows. She's been one of my customers for quite a few years now and has recently decided to become a Thermomix advisor. So in fact, I've probably said most of what I can say about you, Louise, but if you want, Louise is also a nutritionist. She's got lots of very interesting, relevant things to say about food. So I look forward to hearing from her later on as well, when she tells me off for using far too much sugar in marshmallows. But do you want to say a few words about yourself, Louise?
Yes, thank you, Lindsay. Not really a lot left to say. I have had my own Thermomix for nearly 3 years and been an advisor since October. So what I love about it is, obviously, I'm a control freak with food, nature of my job, but I love that I can multitask. It's the most effective multitasker there is. I can put food on and go to the gym and it's done. It's amazing. So that's probably what I love about it the most. The most basic and practical things are the things I love about it the most.
Fantastic. And I think that's why a lot of our customers love Thermomix, because there's a side of Thermomix for everybody, isn't there? Thermomix appeals to those that love to cook, and Thermomix also appeals to those that hate to cook. And that is why we do demos, because until you've seen it, you can't quite get your head around about what it can offer. I saw a little note in the chat from Sharon saying, can we put it on speaker view now? But Louise, do you just want to spotlight me? Because I'm going to sort of just kick off with a brief overview. Brilliant. And then I'm going to go straight into the marshmallow recipe. So for those that have joined this evening or might be watching this on playback, I'm just going to run through very, very briefly what the Thermomix can do, what it's all about, why we love it, if you haven't got that already. And then we're going to launch into some cooking. So what is Thermomix? Well, there's the question, isn't it? It's really, from sort of the simplest perspective, it's just a way to simplify the whole cooking process, right from deciding what you want to cook, organising your recipes, to shopping for the ingredients, cooking and cleaning up afterwards. It does it all. Using a Thermomix is going to save you time, it's going to save you effort, and it's going to save you money. Who doesn't want that? It's fantastic for people, as we said, that both love to cook and those that hate cooking. It takes away the bits nobody really likes, allowing you to concentrate on what you enjoy more about cooking in the kitchen. It is really like having a sous chef in the kitchen or an extra pair of hands. So it's like this, a personal assistant rather than just a food processor. So it's used by professional chefs all around the world. You will find a Thermomix or 5 in most Michelin-starred kitchens. You'll also, if you're watching Great British Menu, no doubt have been screaming at the television, as everybody finds themselves doing, saying, there's a Thermomix there, they're using a Thermomix. And so there's no better testimonial than that from professional chefs. They use Thermomix because there's simply no better piece of kit in the kitchen that can do what it does. So people buy for lots of different reasons, and that is why we encourage potential customers to join the demo so that you can see firsthand how it can help you personally with any cooking challenges. And then as your advisor, we would work very closely with you just to help you get started and then inspire you to use it on a daily basis thereafter. So what is different about a Thermomix? Well, there are 2 very unique aspects about Thermomix versus something like a food processor or a blender. So firstly, it has the ability to heat and stir together with precise temperature control, and that's what the chefs love about it. And then secondly, we've got this amazing recipe platform called Cookie Do, and you will be seeing elements of Cookie Do all through this evening. So Cookie Do has now got about 80,000 recipes and counting. The recipes are delivered to you on this touch screen and you follow them step by step. So it literally makes that cooking process super, super simple. The other unique aspect about Thermomix is it gets better with age. We are constantly updating it with new software, new functionality, new modes, and you get all of that as an existing owner as well. So how much does a Thermomix cost? A Thermomix costs £1,189. There are 3 ways to pay for your Thermomix. Firstly, you can buy outright on a card using Visa or MasterCard. We don't accept American Express. You can spread your payments through one of our finance plans over 1, 2, 3, and 4 years. Just to give you a very brief idea, on a 1-year plan, it costs about £100 a month. On a 2-year plan, it's about 50. On a 3-year plan, it's about 40. On a 4-year plan, it's about £30 a month. That's just £1 a day. You will waste way more than that without a Thermomix in your kitchen. Who thinks absolutely nothing about going and buying a takeaway coffee, for example, for £4 or £5 a pop? I know I certainly did before I got my Thermomix. And the Thermomix really just gives on giving. You will save 2, twice, 3 times what it will cost you to buy in a very, very short space of time. So it's a really smart investment. Finally, the third way to get a Thermomix in your kitchen is to earn one by becoming an advisor. We give everybody the opportunity to earn a Thermomix for free by making 4 sales. Lots of people, when they join Thermomix, they're not quite sure what to expect. You join a fantastic local team that will support you. We become friends for life. The Thermomix community is one of the best bits about becoming a Thermomix advisor. And also, if you're a Thermomix customer, it's that sense of community. So if any owners are there thinking, oh, I'd quite like, I'm interested in finding out more about the advisor opportunity, you can earn a second Thermomix for free. If one is not enough for you, then please do go back to the advisor who's invited you to join the call, or talk to one of us this evening, and we will help you on the first steps of your journey towards becoming a Thermomix advisor. And if you've got any questions on that, please do put it in the chat. Oh, now I've lost an AirPod. I must have weird ears. They just sort of fall out, and I've got to be really careful not to drop the call now, because every time I touch it, I drop off. So if you'd like to see the Thermomix up close and personal, because of course it's a very different experience seeing it online, please get in touch with your advisor. You can book us for a demo. We love coming out and cooking with our customers, showing you and your friends what it can do. And if you have a minimum of 3 friends, you will also get a free gift from Thermomix as a thank you for hosting and helping us introduce Thermomix to a wider community in the UK. We are really in our infancy in the UK. We've got a lot of catching up to do with our European counterparts. We sell about 40,000 units a year. There's a big gap there towards achieving getting a Thermomix in every home in the UK, which was one of our previous general managers' main objectives for Thermomix. We want every household to have a Thermomix in the UK, and we'd love you to help us with that. So we are looking for more people to become advisors. So if you are watching this evening thinking that you'd really enjoy doing what we're doing, showing the let's face it, we all love talking about our Thermomix with our friends. If you want to be paid for sharing your passion for Thermomix, then please do ask us how you go about that, and one of us will be very, very happy to help. So I think I've covered all the main points of Thermomix. I'm not going to go through the machine. I could talk about this thing forever. What we're going to do is we are going to show you how the Thermomix works by actually using the Thermomix and cooking with you this evening. So hopefully you will see most of us have got a couple of different views. We'll take you through the guided recipes, and then we will hopefully cover off any questions. Please do ask any questions that you have. Don't be shy. This is your session. We're here to answer your questions. So raise a hand or pop it in the chat, and we will do our best to help you. Before we get properly started, I just want to say a big hello to Salma. I know she's not with us this evening. Salma joins pretty much every demo, but she's in Florida at the moment on holiday, so she couldn't join live this evening, but she wants to watch it back on playback. So hi, Salma, and hope to see you at the next one live very soon. Right, I'm going to get started with the raspberry marshmallows. They're currently cooling outside, so I'm just going to pop off camera for 2 seconds and grab them off my doorstep, which I love this time of year. I can rapidly cool anything just by putting it outside, and I think I might have called these a little bit too much, actually. Okay, so let's get this on. So I'm going to show you how to make these little beauties. So these are my raspberry marshmallows. Can you see how gorgeous these look? I know it's created a bit of stir on social media where I've shared them. They are incredibly simple to make yourself when you've got a Thermomix. I used to be, I think I probably said, I was a professional chef. I had my own food business before I was introduced to Thermomix. As part of my food business, I had a little sort of kitchen table venture where I was making sort of marshmallows and sweet treats and selling them at local delis and cafes and at events. I have a very sweet tooth. I love baking. Sue, who is the complete opposite of me, she is all, well, and Louise really, they're all about sort of the healthy side of food, but I absolutely love baking and all the naughty things that you can create in the kitchen. So I spend an awful lot of time experimenting with marshmallows and various other things. And yes, like I used to sell them. And so tonight I'm going to share my secret recipe with you. There are recipes on Cookie Do. I do think my one is better. I have tried the Cookie Do recipes, but it doesn't really sort of replicate the texture that I used to get. Now, interestingly enough, when I was making marshmallows, I never had a Thermomix. I used to do it in a KitchenAid, and it was a real palaver. I used to have to heat up sugar and gelatin on a pan, watch it like a hawk so it didn't boil over. If you heat gelatin at too high a temperature, it will just erupt like a volcano. So when I was making them, it was really quite labor intensive, and it wasn't for the faint-hearted. And then I just wondered one day whether I could actually use the Thermomix to take a lot of the pain out of it. And that is why a lot of professional chefs use Thermomix, because it guarantees consistency of quality, and it minimizes that margin of error. So I thought, hello, let's see if I can do them in the Thermomix. And lo and behold, of course, the Thermomix takes all the pain out of it. So I'm going to just talk you through that process this evening. Right, I've had to, in here, in this bowl, and Louise will put, I'm hoping Louise will share this recipe in the chat, but we will follow up with an email to everybody that's registered with the recipe in it. So your first step in here, in the Thermomix bowl, is you want to weigh in 125 grams of water into the bowl, and then add in 400 grams of sugar. So that's exactly what I've done in here. And then you want to heat that for about 10 minutes. So we're doing this manually. We're not using a Cookie Do guided recipe. You heat it for 10 minutes, 100 degrees at speed 2. So all you're doing is bringing that water up to the boil and dissolving the sugar. Okay, so that's the first part of the recipe. Then in a separate bowl, so while that is heating, I'm just going to have a look at what the temperature is showing. Is it showing about 40 on there? In a separate bowl, what in here, so this is, I've got some powdered gelatin. You can't, well, you probably could do this with sheet gelatin, but I don't know the quantities. This is powdered gelatin. I'm sure you can still buy the sachets in a supermarket. In a separate small bowl, you want to set to bloom 25 grams of powdered gelatin, and then add to it another 125 grams of cold water, and then allow the gelatin to bloom. So this is what I mean by blooming. Okay, you can see that the gelatin, the powder, has absorbed all of that water, and it's become like a solid lump of jelly. Okay. So once your initial water and sugar solution has come to the boil, so after your 10 minutes, it was 25 grams of powdered gelatin to 125 grams of water in here. Once it's come to the boil, you then add in this gelatin mixture, the bloom gelatin, into the hot sugar and water that's in your Thermomix. So just be really careful, because of course it's a solid lump. So, you know, if you're going to drop it in, you might get a bit of splashback. So obviously be a bit careful adding it in. Then you want to heat it. So we need to then dissolve that into the sugar solution. So we're going to bring it up again to and heat it. So you want to program your Thermomix for another 5 minutes at 100 degrees at speed 2. Now, the really important point here is that when you do this, you do not have your measuring cup in. Okay, so we want the steam to escape. We don't want any pressure to build up. You could, if you want to, where's my simmering basket? Here it is, it's over here. Pop a simmering basket on there just to stop any splashing that might come out. But it should be fine with just the lid minus the measuring cup. So you're going to heat that for 5 minutes at 100 degrees, speed 2. So all we're doing there is we're going to dissolve the gelatin. Then, after that 5 minutes, take the lid off, and you need, this is the really important part, you need to let it cool to about 40 degrees. So your thermostat on your Thermomix will tell you when it's reached 40 degrees. It will take about 45 minutes. I've had this bowl outside. That's why I love this time of year, because you can super cool. It's like having your very own blast chiller outside. You can super cool things really quickly. I've gone a little bit below 40 degrees on here because, as you can see, it's not actually showing registering a temperature at all. So it means it's below 37 degrees, but I'm sure it'll be fine. So once it's cooled down, please don't try and whisk it when it's hot. You won't get anywhere. You need to pop your whisk in. So whisk goes in, give it a little twist after insertion. And then we're going to whip it for about 15 minutes at speed 3.5. Okay. So has anybody got any preference? So this is the first stage. We're going to whip it for 15 minutes, and then we're going to add some colouring if you want to, or you don't have to, and some flavouring to it. And then we're going to whip it for another just 5 minutes just to incorporate the colour and the flavour. So I could make, here I've got some raspberry marshmallows behind me. I could make some banana flavoured, some cherry flavoured, some rhubarb flavoured, some strawberry flavoured marshmallows. Has anybody got any preferences? I know you can't taste them, sadly, but if you've got a particular preference, pop it in the chat, and then I'll just make the most popular flavour. I tend to get, I had a load of these lovely sort of professional grade flavours from, these ones came from Lakeland, actually. They're all very old now. I also use some doTERRA oils that you can make orange flavour, all sorts, ginger flavour, peppermint flavour if you wanted to. So have a think about, what you want to see, and then I will just do the most popular option. So I'm going to set this off for 15 minutes. So you can see that if you look at my main Thermomix screen, I don't know, Louise, if you got it pinned or spotlighted at the start. Now I'm choking. We're going to program it for 15 minutes. So all of our recipes are a combination of time, temperature, and speed. So when you're using it manually, you just need to sort of have a think through that kind of process. Cooking is a process of how long you're going to cook something for, what sort of temperature and what sort of speed. The same applies to the Thermomix. So I'm going to cook this. I'm not actually going to heat it at all. I'm going to whisk it just for 15 minutes at speed 3.5. You may want to put the simmering basket on the top just initially to stop some of the splatter coming out. Okay, so we're just going to leave that on the top and let it whisk for 15 minutes. And then rather than watching that happen, I will pop back on in 15 minutes time and just show you what has happened to that kind of liquidy mixture in the Thermomix. So let's hand over now to Cutty, who's going to take us through some bread.
Hi.
Louise.
Right. I'm going to do the white finger rolls. I've already made the dough actually, because these ones do need a bit of time to prove. So when you roughly, and I've halved the recipe as well. Now this recipe doesn't actually scale, so I scaled it myself. So I've been doing 2 breads on here, comes the recipe. So it does talk you through the whole thing. Sorry, hang on. So I've done grease the bowl. You just follow the recipe, use strong bread flour, and I've used fresh yeast in this. Anyway, just follow the recipe, and I'm going to just show you how to shape them. So literally, I do it very similar to the soft white baps of Lindsay's recipe. I love these with hot dogs, but then we're just obviously making them into a bit of a sausage shape. It says about 15 centimeters long, so it's quite good with this mat. There we go. So just literally I'm putting them on like this. We just leave about, I usually have the full recipe of 12 on here, but I've got a freezer full. So because whatever I don't use, I just freeze for the next week. So I just roll some of these out. Very easy. It's lovely dough to work with, actually. With the fresh yeast, does make a massive difference. It's quite hard to get hold of. Well, I'm near Market Harbour, so I get it from, what's it called, Emerson and West, which is a lovely little bakery there. So you just leave about 1 centimetre between each one. As I say, I have roughly measured these out. And then all I'm going to do when these are done, so I'm just trying to do them quite quickly. Ooh. There we go. It's very springy. Right, I'm going to do them. Just pulling, what do you call it, Lindsay? The clock work motion.
Go round the clock.
Round the clock, that's
yeah.
it. Things I've learned doing this. Right, round the clock, and then I just pull it. So it's fairly tight still. There we go. Last one. These are really lovely, fluffy baps. And the kids, as I say, the kids love them. We have tea on the run on a Tuesday evening, as they have after school clubs, and they need to eat. They've got about half an hour to eat their tea and don't have time to come home. So I always make these with some sausages in. And we just cover them with some cling film, and we'll leave them to cool for another hour. Okay, I'll put it, this kitchen's really warm at the moment, so leave them there. And then here we've got the sweet breakfast bread, which only needed half an hour proving. I made the little crusty thing. Actually, I did the scaled recipe, and I felt the scaled recipe wasn't as good on this one. So I've just done the whole thing because it's so good. And Sian's here, and she can take one home with me. And what I'm doing here, I've just taken the top off because it's the dough. So it's just easier to get the dough out. Obviously, be careful with the blade, but it's just easier to get the rest of the dough out. There we go. And I can just scrape around the bowl. Then what I'm going to do is halve it. Being obviously very careful. Little fingers. Don't like to leave anything. And then I'm going to cut it in half. Again, this is talking you all through the whole recipe. I sometimes weigh it out, but I'm not going to. So I'm going to cut it in half. Then each half into thirds. That's about roughly right. This is a really delicious, they call it sweet breakfast bread. And it's lovely because you do a crumble topping of butter, sugar, and flour. Yeah, a little bit of flour at the beginning. Right, so I'm just making that to a long strip like that. There we go, number 2, about the same length. And then the third one. You can do whatever shape you want really, but the plait is lovely. It's really pretty. There we go. Okay, and then all I'm going to do is plait them. You see all right there? Oh, I'll go this way a bit.
Like plaiting a horse's tail, isn't it, Sarah?
My daughter has very long hair, so I'm very used to doing this every day. So there we go. And then when we come to the end, again on the Thermomix, this is talking you through the whole recipe. You just tuck it under, just like that.
Yay, that looks lovely.
It's really, really lovely bread, and it is quite sweet. And then all I will do is put some, I'm going to do the second one, but all I'm going to do is put some egg wash on there, and then the crumble bit on the top. Okay. Again, we just do exactly the same.
This is an amazing recipe, and this is one of the things that I love about the Thermomix community, because originally this is a Polish recipe, and it's really well known amongst the Polish advisors and Polish Thermomix owners. And I went to a meeting a few months ago and tasted it and just could not believe this bread and how easy they were telling me it was to make. And this is one of the breads that you really do need to have fresh yeast for. Fresh yeast makes all the difference to the texture. If you try and do it with dried yeast, you will not get the same texture. It'll be more cakey. But fresh yeast gives you this incredible, just pull apart sort of soft milk bread. And it's very much like a brioche, isn't it? But actually, brioche is an enriched dough. It can take quite a long time to prove and rise. You have to be quite careful with it. This bread, you can really just, knock it around as you see fit, and it works absolutely brilliantly. Annette's saying she makes the same in Germany. You can have this on the table within, I would say, about an hour, probably, from making it. Hour and a quarter top, including baking. It takes about 20 minutes to rise once it's shaped. Sarah, are you actually going to walk us through any bread this evening on the Thermomix screen? Are you going to just do a quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Just let you do that.
What, putting it in?
Your glamorous assistant's taking it away to do it. I love it, Sean.
I have to finish the thing. So I thought, because we're all Thermomix owners on here, we all, we know how to follow the recipe. But with the finger rolls, do you want me to talk you through the sweetbread thing? I'm getting the right old fluster here. Hang on. Because I was going to show the sweetbread recipe itself.
Yeah, show us the sweetbread recipe.
Which I did. I'm going to show you, which I did, but it needed half an hour to prove, which I thought on the scaled recipes that I was looking at, it didn't say that. So I did actually get going with it. But actually the beginning, the crumble, you do the plain flour, the sugar, and the unsalted butter. That literally is 10 seconds at speed 4. You put that in the fridge. That's in the fridge at the moment. You put an egg in, the 2 egg yolks, the unsalted butter, the sugar, 1 tablespoon of vanilla sugar that's homemade, fresh yeast, some milk. That just mixes it all up for 4 minutes, actually, that mixes that for. And then you add your flour, your salt, and then it proves it for 3 minutes. And then you leave it in the bowl for half an hour. And as I say, because you use the fresh yeast, it is quite difficult to get hold of, but if you get hold of it, it just does. I mean, I know you can get it from Amazon, and you can freeze fresh yeast as well. I had it in little.
And I think what if you don't already have a Thermomix, what you're not really seeing on this recipe is that the Thermomix walks you step by step through every instruction, and it weighs the ingredients for you. So it will tell you to add a certain amount of ingredients into the bowl. Then it might mix them together, or it might heat them up for you in the next step. And then once you've got all your ingredients in, if you're making bread, it will then move on to a knead function. And it will knead typically in what, 2 to 3 minutes there? Is that the knead on the?
Yeah, it's 3 minutes. So
3
it
minutes.
mixes it for 4 minutes, then you add the flour and a bit of salt, and then it kneads it for 3 minutes. If you go onto my phone screen, if Louise can go onto my phone one, spotlight my phone one. Okay, so it talks you through, I'm just going to get the right position. It talks you through the whole thing. So join the ropes at each end. Join again, it talks you all through the plaiting process. Repeat with second. So you're never left alone. I'm just trying to get the light so you can see it. There we go. It says leave to cook for 15 minutes while you heat the oven. Then I'm going to use a pastry brush, both ends, both breads, sorry, a bit of egg, and sprinkle with a crumble, which I'll do in a second. Then I just bake it for 20 to 25 minutes. And then that is it. But yes, so obviously the Thermomix weighs out all your ingredients and talks you the whole step by step. But as I needed to prove this bread for half an hour before I shaped it, I did just get on and do it earlier. So there we go.
Right, brilliant. So let's go over to Sue now for her prawn stir fry.
Well, we've voted.
Can't hear you, Sue.
I need to make sure
No,
that I.
there we are. We can hear you.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So the recipe that I'm going to start off with today is a prawn and noodle stir fry. And this is one of the very first recipes that I cooked just purely for myself because I love delicious spicy food, which my kids weren't very keen on. And it was the sort of meal that I could do very quickly. It's 20 to 25 minutes. I could do it alongside anything that I was cooking for them. It wasn't a great deal. And instead of me having to just eat what they were eating, it gave me a different option. And it's one of the things that I just love about it. I love seafood, I love prawns, and I love spicy, tasty food. So I'm going to show you the whole process as we go through. Now, can you actually see my Thermomix screen on there? I don't think you can you? Let's see if I can pop that down a little bit. There. Okay. So on the screen here, we're just going to start cooking. I've done some preparation already. So I've just done some sort of chopping. Oh, my screen's gone to sleep. Hold on. Come on. It's ignoring me. That's interesting. Okay. Start cooking. Come on. There we go. Right. So the first step in this recipe is to start by cooking the noodles. Okay. Now I just cook those normally in the usual way. Because I do sort of gluten-free a lot, I'm using buckwheat noodles, which I'm just going to cook separately to give them the 5 minutes that they take. But I'm going to get on and show you the more interesting part here, because they just sit to keep warm. So we start off by adding a few ingredients. We have got here, if you can see it on the screen, we've got garlic, we've got some ginger, we've got 1 to 2 fresh chilies. I tend to put more chilies in because I like my food spicy and hot, and some sprigs of coriander. And it actually asks for stalks. I love it when it asks for stalks because so often it just asks for leaves and that you're left with the stalks. But I actually take the stalks off when I'm using fresh coriander, and you can freeze them and then just use them in things that require that flavour. But it's not necessary for the leaves. So I'm just going to add all of that in. There we go. And then it's going to ask us to pop the lid on. And 3 seconds on speed 7. So I'm just going to turn that round and it's going to chop those all up. And I'm just going to grab my spatula, so I shall need to put that down. Okay. So that's chopped all up really finely, and I'm just going to push that down to the bottom. And then we need to add a few more things. So we've got 2 tablespoons of oil. That's straight in. And it's going to start by just doing a bit of a saute here. So that's 2 tablespoons of oil, 2 teaspoons, no, 2 tablespoons, sorry. There we go. So popping in plenty of oil there. Okay. And next, and then we want some spices. So we are going to have half a teaspoon of ground turmeric. This is turmeric is great. It's a great anti-inflammatory food, and one of the good sort of gut healthy things. So that's something I love to add to my food. That's going in there. And then we want half a teaspoon of ground cumin, and we're just going to add that in. So popping that straight into the bowl there. Great. And then we want some fish sauce. So I have a big bottle of fish sauce, which is bought from our Oriental shop, just because it makes it cheaper when you use a lot rather than the little bottles that you get in the supermarket. And we want 3 teaspoons of that, which is the same as a tablespoon. So that's a little bit quicker to measure out. So pop in a tablespoon of fish sauce. Okay, that's that. And then we want a little bit of sugar. My preference is not a lot of sugar. I tend to use a bit of coconut sugar if I need it. Sometimes I'll sweeten with a bit of apple juice, and that's sufficient, but as you like, according to your taste. We pop in a bit of sugar, and then we've got some lime juice, 2 teaspoons of lime juice. So loads of ingredients going all into the one pan. So pop that in. Okay, and then we've got the coconut milk. We've got that readily open, and this is 165 grams. So just pour that in, and it's looking at the measures as we go. Okay. That's a little bit over, but that's okay. So that's all in there. I'm going to pop that on, and that's going to set off cooking for 6 minutes at 90 degrees. Okay, so this is actually making a sauce. Just want speed 1 in there. That's making the sauce that's going to coat the noodles, and then we're going to do a quick stir fry. When I first started with this, I couldn't believe that you could actually do a stir fry, because I thought it would chop all the food up, but it's brilliant for stir fries, just the same as everything else. So I'm just going to check. My camera seems to have gone a bit wobbly. Let's try that again. Okay, so whilst that's cooking, and this is another reason why it's really good, because I've got 6 minutes now. I could either use that 6 minutes to prepare my vegetables for the next stages by going through the preview to see what's coming next. But at this point, I'm actually going to use it to show you another recipe, which has been suggested by one of our team who can't be here today. This is the gratin dauphinoise, which I'm going to be showing you in my Thermomix just here. So what we've got here, it's just gone to sleep because I haven't touched it for a little while. So just bear with me while that warms up a little bit. Okay, so just going into the recipes, my week planner. Okay, so I don't know how many of you have got the cutter. This is not essential for this recipe, but it is something that makes it a little bit easier, because it will do the slicing of the potatoes. And one of the really good things about this recipe is that it will it'll tart up any kind of meat and 2 veg type meal, any kind of meal, family meal, that you want something a little bit different. You can do this potato recipe. So I'm just going to pop into here. Take that out for a moment. Okay, so just starting off with the cooking here, we need to preheat the oven and grease a gratin dish, which I've got already set aside. And then we're going to start with some cheese. which needs to be grated. Now I'm told that you shouldn't officially have cheese in a gratin dauphinoise, but this recipe does use it. So we're just going to pop that in quickly and do a little bit of grating of that, and then we'll set that aside just to go on the top at the end. So pop that onto the sutter. There we go. And that gets transferred. Great. Now, what I didn't say is that I'm using alternative cheese here because we are dairy free in this household. So another thing that I love about the Thermomix is that it enables me to adapt recipes for our tastes and our dietary needs without any difficulty, and the recipes still come out great. And that's I've had so much more success at cooking the free-from type recipes on here than I did when I used to be trying to make it up myself. So that is another benefit. So I've actually used some vegan cheese there. Not that we are completely vegan, but it just gives us that dairy-free option. Equally, I sometimes use goats and sheep's cheese, which is another way to go. So what it then needs is a bit of garlic. So we're going to pop that in. And again, pop the lid on. Okay, so that is just 3 seconds at speed 7. So chop the garlic up. Great. Okay, and then we're going to scrape that down. I need a second spatula. There we go. Okay, so that's kind of sprayed up a little bit. And then on this recipe, it's then asking for 1,200 grams of potatoes, which are peeled and cut into slices. Now, I'm actually going to use the cutter attachment, which I have here, to do the slicing for me. That I'll show you that. So for those of you who haven't seen this or haven't got one, then you can get the idea. So this, basically, there's a shaft that goes in on top of the blade and a collection bowl. So it doesn't matter that I've got garlic in the bottom. We're just putting in this bowl, which is going to capture the potatoes. And then this blade, a little test already, this blade goes one of 2 ways up, depending on whether you're wanting to grate or whether you're wanting to slice. And so we are actually doing slicing, and that is with a number 1 facing up. So I'm just going to slot that on like that. The top goes on here, and then we just need to pop the potatoes through, and it's all done very quickly. There we go. Okay, so what I am going to do is come out of here for the moment and go to the functions. I don't know if you can see the screen on that view. There's a slicing function, which gives us the option of thick or thin slices, and I want it to be thick in this case. So I'm going to load that up with potato and then just turn it to thick and pop it through, push it down with the thing. Just a few. Yeah, and just stop when it's done. And so you can see very quickly, I'm going to have, I'll show you in a second, a whole load of lovely sliced potatoes ready to go in the dauphinoise. Okay, so if we revert back to the recipe, and it's asking us to add that in, just to know, I have actually halved this recipe really, so I'm just going to pop these in here. It's probably about 600, and we're going to pop those into there, out of the thing there, the cutter. And then if we stick next, now we want 250 grams of whipping cream, and for this I'm actually using, this is a bit of an experiment, but I'm using Oatly cream. Okay, so this is, now there's lots of different things available for the dairy-free options, and this is a pourable type cream, which is made with oats. So I'm just going to pour this in, and obviously halving that myself. So going to 125 is what we're after. So measuring that in. That's it. Okay, and then we want a teaspoon of salt. So we've got our seasonings in there. I only want half a teaspoon of salt, actually, don't I? That's what you have to remember. Now, there are facilities on the machine to do these calculations for you and create a creative recipe which is already adapted for different sizes. I'm just doing this a little bit off my own. So we then need 1/4 of a teaspoon of ground black pepper. That's just a half of that. Okay, there we go. So if we then need a pinch of ground nutmeg, which is easily done there. Okay, and then we're going to pop the lid on here, along with a simmering basket. There we go. And that is going to cook for 10 minutes at speed 1. So that's the potatoes doing a bit of a pre-cook. And what this actually means is that it will reduce the time that it needs to go in the oven, which will cut down on the energy usage overall. It's going to cook those, and then we're going to transfer them afterwards and pop them in the oven to finish off and to brown. So that's 10 minutes on speed 1. So setting that off to cook. I can now revert back to this recipe, which has completed that stage, and we're going to set that aside. I just need to move that actually, so I'm going to put it into my thermal serving bowl. You can see that it's produced. You can see in there lovely, lovely sauce, which has got still the bits of ginger and coriander stalk and chilli in it, and that is going to go over the noodles. And we're just going to keep that warm whilst we get on with the next step. Okay. Oops. Okay, so coming back here. Now it specifically says do not clean the bowl, which is great. I love that because we don't need to get rid of those flavours that might be left in there. And if we move on, we're now going on to a second part. Let's get my next set of ingredients out and ready. Okay, so we want 2 garlic cloves. Now this might seem like repetition, but it's actually, this is for the actual stir fry part. A piece of ginger and 2 tablespoons of oil. So I'll just get my oil back again. Okay. And then if we pop that on, it's 3 seconds at speed 7, so it's literally going to chop that up really quickly. We need to scrape that down. And then placing the simmering basket on the top, we're going to saute that just for a short time. On there. So that's 1 minute at speed 1. Okay. And then as soon as that has finished, we're going to add in all of the stir-fried veg. So what I've got ready prepared here, I've got onion chopped into wedges, I've got courgette pieces, matchsticks of carrot and some red pepper, and that's all ready to go. So that will very quickly set up in process.
So I'll just jump in here actually, because my marshmallow finished for the 15 minutes. I just want to show people. So I thought that would be quite a good time to just hand over to me for a minute. Louise, can you just sort of spotlight my video? Right. Okay, so you can see, look at that. There we go. That's what's happened after 15 minutes. Now, I believe that the marshmallow recipes on Cookie Do only whisk for 7 minutes. If you only whisk for 7 minutes, you are not going to get a consistency like this. So it's worthwhile whisking for the extra amount of time. Right. So now we're there. There were a variety of comments ranging from strawberry, raspberry, and banana. As I've got raspberry behind me, I'm going to actually do banana because I love banana. And somebody also said, how many drops of flavouring do we need to put in? So there should be a guide on the back of your bottle. Now this is the old Lakeland one. I don't think they do these anymore, but it says for about 1 kilogram of food, use 20 drops. So I'm going to use, we've got about 0.5 kilogram here, so I'm going to use just 10 drops of flavouring. Now, also, Rhiannon asked, can you use freeze-dried powders? And you absolutely can. So in here, I also have raspberry powder, strawberry powder, and blueberry powder. And I do use these. So I would probably add maybe a couple of tablespoons of the freeze-dried powder, and then you get a more natural flavouring. Banana flavouring, let's face it, it's not that natural. So, but I love it. Those foam bananas, those Haribo foam bananas, amazing. So I put in about 10 drops of my super concentrated banana flavouring. I'm going to make it yellow as well. It's going to go with my melted chocolate because bananas and chocolate match made in heaven. So these are these are concentrated paste. This one's a PME one. Usually I use the sugar flare paste because my main food business before I became a Thermomix advisor, I was a cake decorator. So I have got a whole tub full of these super concentrated spectral paste. And you don't need very much. So that is probably going to give a very radiant, in fact, that's probably going to be far too much, a very radiating yellow colour. So I'm just going to put a tiny amount in, really like that. And then I'm going to set it to whisk again for another 5 minutes. Now, top tip here, do not fall asleep while you're making marshmallow, as I did a couple of weeks ago when I was making it quite late. I fell asleep and then it's set in the bowl, and then I couldn't get the food colouring on my hands. I actually couldn't get the whisk out. I had to throw the whole lot away. I had to melt it with some hot water and throw the whole lot away. So now all I'm going to do, I'm just going to switch it over to my other Thermomix just so it's not loud in my ears, but I'm going to give it, now I've got the colouring in and the flavouring, I'm going to just give it another 5 minutes at no temperature and speed 3.5, and then we're going to whiz back to Sue. Sue, you need to come off mute.
There, can you hear me now? Or is that echo?
We could hear you, but then you turned it back off again.
Okay. No, I've got an echo. Hold on.
Okay, try that. Is that okay? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. Okay. So what I'm literally going to do now is to add in the wedges, separated pieces of onion, and the courgette and the red pepper. They're all stepped through if I follow the recipe, but because I prepared them here, I'm just going to pop those all in. Okay. And I can then click on next and go through that recipe. So it's half a red pepper, 1 carrot chopped up, 150 grams of, it says zucchini, but that's courgette obviously. And then if I just pop the lid on and the steaming basket, I can set that going for 2.5 minutes on speed 1. And then at another point, so we'll pop off and see somebody else doing their part now. But this is going to cook for 2.5 minutes, and then I'm going to add in some raw prawns, which I have ready over here. If you don't have boiled prawns, you can use cooked prawns. I have done that before, just for a slightly quicker version. I just have them a bit later in the process. But the prawns go in, and that's pretty much it. So a very simple process, although there's a few steps. This is now doing the stir fry for me. And the lovely bit is that I don't have to do any stirring myself. I can get on with something else, sort out the kids, do anything else, tidy up the kitchen, the mess that I've made, and leave it cooking. So at that point, we'll just refer back to
me. Yeah, I'm afraid you're coming back to me again. You can't get rid of me this evening. Right, so whilst my other Thermomix, Louise, have you spotlighted both of my cameras? Because I would like people to see the recipe as it is on the screen as well. So brilliant. If you can spotlight both of them. Can you see two views now? You should be able to see two views of me. Yeah, there we go, side by side. Thank you, Louise. So I'm going to walk you through these Emmental Gougeres. Now, I have a slight confession to make. This is a session about your favourite recipes. I've actually never cooked this one before, but I'm doing this on behalf of Claire, who absolutely loves this. All her friends call it her cheesy balls. I make a lot of choux pastry in my Thermomix. Choux was one of the big revelations for me when I first got my Thermomix. I used to hate making choux pastry. Something would always go wrong with it, and it used to tire my arm out whisking the eggs into the flour and the butter and the water. I no longer have to worry about that because the Thermomix does it all for me. It temperature controls the whole process. So I used to make a lot of choux pastry professionally. We would make eclairs, choux buns, cook and bouche, wedding cakes, that sort of thing. And it was always a bit of a ball ache doing it by hand. But I should have looked at having a Thermomix earlier, because then the Thermomix takes that all away from you. Hopefully you can hear me okay, and you're not going to be too troubled by the noise of the marshmallows whisking in the background. I'm just going to keep an eye on it, because you can see I've got a minute to go, and then I'm going to show you what happens after the marshmallows have whisked. So I'm going to put a second bowl in. Let me just clear that message off of my screen because it's going to annoy me. And then hopefully, right, you are going to now see this recipe step by step. So, like I said at the start, we've got access to 80,000 recipes on Cookie. The amazing thing with this machine is that it walks you through the recipe step by step. So here's our one recipe out of 80,000. We're going to click start cooking. Now it's asking me to put 100 grams of Emmental cheese in. Now I can only find the thinly sliced stuff, so I hope it's going to be okay. But there we go. We've only got, well, as does my nearest supermarket in Grantham, so that's where I went this morning. I should have gone to I'm sure Lidl or Aldi would have had the blocks of Emmental. There we go. So you can see straight away that we've got inbuilt scales. This is one of the best features about the Thermomix, in my opinion. Right, I'm going to just stop that marshmallow mixture. Just leave it for a minute. Just having the recipe on the screen means you don't have to spend time and energy going away, looking at your recipe, finding out where you were, coming back to it, walking away, doing something else, coming back, having to reread your previous steps. It's all there in real time on your screen. Inbuilt scales, amazing. It means you don't need to use separate equipment, much less time, effort and energy, and less washing up as well. Okay, now we're going to add in some Parmesan. Yes.
Lindsay, have you got the sound on your other camera? Because we're getting a bit of an echo coming through.
Shouldn't have. No, it says join audio, so no, I'm not.
That's weird.
I can't hear an echo at all. Is it just you? Is everybody else okay with it?
Somebody else has mentioned it. So
there is an echo.
There's an echo.
And there wasn't an echo before?
No, there wasn't before. That's gone a bit better now.
That might be because my other Thermomix is off.
Maybe.
Don't know. Right. Okay. So now we're going to put in some Parmesan. Again, fantastic cost saving, being able to grate your own Parmesan in the Thermomix. So Thermomix is all about saving time, saving effort, saving money. Making your own grated Parmesan is one of those small ways that you can save money, because it is much cheaper to buy the blocks and grate it yourself in 10 seconds than it is to actually buy grated Parmesan, which is full of rubbish. In fact, they do that commercially grated Parmesan with just the rinds. you can actually grate the rinds if you want to in your Thermomix. Right, put the lid on. Okay, where's my lid? I need to find a lid. It might be in the dishwasher. Let me just go and grab another lid out. Not like I don't have about 5 Thermomixes to play with. Right. Just as a talking point here, every single part of your Thermomix, all the accessories, the bowl, the blades, everything can go in the dishwasher. So I've just got this out of the dishwasher. I'm just getting it a little dry. There's my other lid. Never mind. Right, put the lid on, click on next. Right, here's our guided recipe. We've got 10 seconds on the clock, no heat. And now it's telling me to turn the speed selector to speed 10. So round I go for 10. Okay, transfer to a bowl and set aside. I'll show you what that looks like. We've just grated up all of that cheese in 10 seconds. Take you a lot longer with a cheese grater. And every time I get my grater out, I always ruin my nails. So there you go. That's another plus point for the Thermomix. You don't ruin your nails. Right, click on next. Right, now we're going to add in 100. So we're now going to start building up the choux pastry recipe. So 190 grams of water, room temperature water. We want to bring the water. So one of the technical aspects of choux pastry is that you have to bring your water to boil and get your butter to melt at exactly the same time. The Thermomix just completely takes care of that side of things for you. So 190 grams of water, 80 grams of unsalted butter, diced. So in it goes. I did actually weigh it out before. Let me just pop that in. Yeah, that'll do. Just so that we're making it a bit quicker. A bit of salt, teaspoon of salt. So I personally prefer the pink Himalayan salt. Louise will tell you all about the amazing benefits. I think there's some extra, and there's magnesium in there. A bit of pepper, like pepper, here it is behind me. A bit of ground black pepper. Right, so now this is the point where I'm going to bring up the water to boil and melt the butter at the same time. So you'll see it's asking me to put the simmering basket on the top. Here we go. This is just so that you can allow the steam to escape. Click on next. We've got 4 minutes on the clock. It's going to reach a temperature of 100 degrees. So we're going to boil that water and it's going to continue stir for me. So at this point, I can just walk away and do something else entirely, rather than having to be stood there at a pan, stirring it and keeping an eye on the temperature. Now, I'm supposed to be handing over to Claire, but before I do that, I just want to show you this. This is my marshmallow. Here we go. Already, so if I just pull you back here, oh, we've got 2 views on that. Look at that. Right, I'm going to show you what to do with that marshmallow. So here I've got just a standard tray baked tin, full tray baked tin. These are years old. I just keep reusing them over and over and over and again. You don't have to throw them out every time you use them. You can just use them until they develop lovely holes in them. And then you can line them with cling film and use them to set marshmallow. So I'm really all about minimizing waste in the kitchen, as a lot of us owners are. It's really important to me that we, save on plastic, natural resources, our own energy, and Thermomix gives you the ideal opportunity to do that. Right, so I've got some cling film on here. I'm going to spray it with some, this is just like a little 1 calorie or whatever spray. Normally I use sunflower version. I did have it earlier. Don't know what cupboard it's been put in. Never mind. Right, and then all I'm going to do is just pour it out. Look at that. Just going to go into this tray. It'll come out beautifully. And we're just going to set it. It will take about 2 hours to set at about room temperature. You could put it somewhere cool. It might speed it up, but it's just going to set up beautifully. And then you can get it out. You can tap it out onto a board, So I just pop it onto a board, covered in a little bit of corn flour and icing sugar, and then I just cut it with a very sharp knife. You can oil your knife if you want to. So I'm not going to waste any more of your time getting that out. I'm going to hand over to Claire because I know Claire's got a lot to do. She's doing puff pastry, she's doing lavosh, and we've also got a cocktail for you as well. So let's go back over to Claire. If Louise, yeah, there she is. Brilliant.
Okay, thank you. So I just had a minor disaster because I just dropped a glass bowl on the floor, which I just had to hoover up. So I'm going to do everything in a little bit of a backwards order, just because of the time it takes to cool and things. So I've prepared some in good Blue Peter style. So I'm going to start with the lavosh. So it's a sumac and quinoa lavosh. It's they're basically very, very thin crackers, and they're fantastic and really, really tasty. Really great with dips, any sort of dip like hummus or a red pepper dip, anything like that. And they're really impressive for people. And you can also make them gluten and dairy free if you wanted to as well. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to actually show you how you actually spread them out on your baking tray and how you actually cook them first of all with some batter that we've already made, and then I'll show you actually how I go about making the batter. So if I just put my screen down. So I've just got a very flat baking tray and a silicone mat on top of it. So I've got my mixture that Lindsay and I actually made yesterday, because Lindsay hadn't made these before. So I was showing her how delicious they are. Hopefully she thinks they're delicious. And I'm going to just spread this batter out. So this batter is made of quinoa, flour, poppy seeds, and various other bits and pieces, which I'll go through in a minute when we go through the recipe. And I'm going to use a big palette knife. And basically this has to be spread as thinly as you can possibly get it onto your baking sheet. So I could probably put a little bit more than that on. It does make about, the whole batter will make about 2 or 3 of these trays when you're cooking them. So if you've got a couple of trays, or you can just do them one after the other. But the key thing here really is to get them spread as thinly as you can across your baking sheet. And then they get really nice and crispy when they're in the oven. So I could spend hours doing this, just trying to get it to all the corners, but I'll just do it quickly for now. But you'll see the finished article when we're done. Okay, so once I've spread them out like that, I'm going to sprinkle them with some sumac, which you can get either online or Waitrose sell it. I couldn't find any in Tesco's today when I was looking. So it's just a spice. So depending on how much you want on there, and then I'm going to
drizzle. Do it as well.
Add to do it. Fantastic. Yep. Okay, let's go. Oops, sprinkle some olive oil on here as well. I'm a bit heavy-handed on that, and a little bit of sea salt on the top as well. So once you've done all of that, that just goes into the oven. The recipe I think says 180. It can catch at the edges if you don't keep a good eye on it. So I've just got the oven on about 150 at the moment, and I'm going to put it in. It goes up to about 40 minutes, but I will normally check it probably after 15 minutes, and then again after another 5 minutes at each time, just to make sure that it's not burning at the edges. So I'm going to put that in my oven. Set the timer. Okay, so now what I'm going to do now is I'll actually just show you what I do to make it. So let's get the recipe up. Okay, the one thing about this recipe to remember is that you need cooked quinoa to begin with. So before you actually start it, make sure you cook some quinoa. Now, you can, if you're really desperate, you can just use the packet ready-made stuff. That will work. Or if you can remember to cook it. So I just steam it in the steaming basket, and about 1 litre of water in here. Rinse it through first, and then put it into the machine and cook it for about 20 minutes on Varoma and speed 2, and that will just cook the quinoa, and then you've got it ready for the recipe. So I'm going to put in some 240 grams of plain flour. As I said, that could be gluten-free flour if you wanted to. and my 200 grams of cooked quinoa. Obviously, it's a lot cheaper to cook it yourself than to buy it ready-made. And it's really easy to do.
And the Thermomix does it brilliantly, doesn't it, on the rice cooking mode? Yeah.
And I quite often make a batch of it and just leave it in the fridge, and I can use it for other things. So it's now asking for a teaspoon of poppy seeds, 3 teaspoons of dried fennel seeds, and some fine sea salt. So put those in, and put the sea salt in. That was in my little bowl that dropped on the floor. So unfortunately, I still have some more. So quite a bit of salt and a little bit of sugar. So that's all gone in. So insert the measuring measuring cup onto the lid, and it's just going to mix all of that up 10 seconds at speed 5. Okay, so once it's done that, we're going to put some liquid in for it. Nope, we're not. We're going to put that in a bowl. 5, sorry. And then we're going to put in some butter. We're going to melt some butter. So 50 grams of butter. And again, you could make that dairy-free. Just use a dairy-free spread. And it's just going to melt the butter in here. 2 minutes at speed 1, 70 degrees. So it's not going to boil it. So as I said before, great for dips. So if you haven't made things like hummus, there's a really quick and easy, we've got a TM6, it's quick and easy hummus dip called the Best Basic Hummus. I love that one. It just uses tins of chickpeas, olive oil, lemon, garlic, and sesame seeds, toasted sesame seeds. So you don't even need to have tahini on hand. So I always keep bags of sesame seeds in the cupboard, so I can always make that. Another quick tip, if you do like hummus, a really, really cheap way of making hummus is to buy the dried chickpeas, cook them all. I've got a pressure cooker, so I'll pressure cook them, and then I'll just store them in the freezer in bags, and then they're ready to use. I can just defrost them, ready to use whenever I want hummus. And it just makes the whole process really, really cheap, rather than actually buying it. And it's just a very easy snack if anybody's hungry in the house. So there's also a really nice dip called, I can't even pronounce it, muharama, which is a red pepper dip. It's a Middle Eastern dip, and that goes really well with the spices from the sumac and the fennel seeds that are in the crackers as well. So that's a great dip to have with it as well. So this is just melting the butter. Once we've melted the butter, then we'll be able to put some milk in, and we'll mix everything together. I don't know if you can see this. I'm sure that you all know that you can preview the recipe. If you want to find out what's coming next, it tells me now the next thing I need to have ready is some milk. So I've got that here, and I can go back to the butter. So I know what's coming up next, and it's really easy to have everything ready into hand. So it makes it a really quick recipe to work out. So that's nearly finished. And when it does, okay. All right, it's now
5 seconds can seem like a very long time when you have a Thermomix.
Yeah.
Do a lot of damage in 5 seconds of Thermomix.
So I'm adding in my milk, 330 grams. Okay. And now I'm going to put in my reserve mixture of my quinoa and my seeds and spices, so and flour. Try not to make a mess like I did on Lindsay's floor yesterday when I tipped it all over the floor. All right, that's gone back in. So it's just going to mix it all up. 30 seconds at speed 4. So when it mixes up, you'll end up with a batter, which will look something like this. And you then have to put that in the fridge to cool it, because obviously the butter is melted, and just to cool it down before you can actually start spreading it out. So that's why I did spread it out first, so you could actually see that process, and we didn't take any more time to do it. So that's nearly done. I'll show you what it looks like. Okay. Right, so it just says leave in the mixing bowl and set aside in the fridge for 20 minutes. So we've just got the batter there, as I said, so that's just going to go in there. I could have halved that recipe if I wanted to, but I'm going to put that to one side.
Claire, have you got any ready-made, or do you want me to show mine?
I haven't got any ready-made. Yeah, show yours.
Yeah. So Louise, I don't know if you can just come back to me. So Claire came over to me yesterday. We had a lovely dog walk. Benefits of being Thermomix advisor. You can write it all off as, yeah, I don't know, team meeting. And then we made some fantastic food for ourselves yesterday, didn't we? We had the superfood salmon salad for lunch, which I highly recommend. And then Claire showed me how to make these incredible Lavosh. I tell you what, this is, again, one of the things that I love about our community. It's the sharing of recipes, it's the sharing the passion for food and the things that we love making in our Thermomix. And every day is a school day. You learn something new every day. Never made these before. I've made various types of crackers and oat cakes in the Thermomix. There's lots of different recipes. These are an absolute revelation. They are so delicious. There was like 2 bowls full of these yesterday. As you can see, I had some for breakfast. They are so yummy. You just keep nibbling them away. You can store them in a little tub. They'll keep for ages. Fantastic with cheese. I always have a cheese night on a Sunday night. I'm really looking forward to having these with a bit of camembert. Really versatile, lovely with dips, and a great little snacking thing. So thank you, Claire, for introducing them to me.
It's my pleasure.
Right, back over to you.
Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make the pastéis de natas, the Portuguese custard tarts. So if any of you have been to Portugal, you'll know that these are an absolute staple. I was there in October, and basically we kind of stopped on every corner cafe and had a coffee and a pastéis de natas. So I absolutely love these. They're very, very Moorish, and again, it's something that I would never ever have made before I had a Thermomix. Certainly would have made pastry, and making custard, you know, custard comes in a tin. But now I make all my own custard, so that's great. So what I'm going to do this a little bit back to front, because I've already made some pastry, which I'm going to pour the custard into. But while I'm going to start off with the custard, and then once the custard is cooking, I'll show you the process of making the quick puff pastry. So we can see my screen, pastéis de nata. So start cooking. Quickly active recipe, yes. So I'm going to start off with some sugar. So this is not great for my diet, so these are going into work tomorrow for my customers to enjoy. 180 grams of sugar, 50 grams of plain flour. If I can see some more. And 250 grams of double cream. So really indulgent, but absolutely delicious when they're made. So I'm supposed to be on a diet, but I'm sure I will have one of these before the night is over. 250 grams of milk.
These custards and sort of sauces are just such a joy to make when you have a Thermomix, aren't they? I mean, they can be quite labour intensive, actually. You have to really watch them like a hawk if you're going to make them in a pan. But actually, this is where the Thermomix comes into its own and just takes all of that chore away.
This is just something I would never have attempted. I've never made custard in my life before I had a Thermomix, and now it's what I do. So I've got 5 egg yolks as well. From there. Okay, so it's great. I can put the lid on. It's just going to mix it all up together. Speed 4. Oops. Put the lid on properly. When you do it upside down. Okay, so and then I'm going to move this over to my other machine in the background, and that can cook away. So it's mixed up. The next step on here is to put the butterfly whisk in, which I had somewhere. I appear to have lost it. Okay, I'll find it. There it is. So put the butterfly whisk in. Okay, and I'm sure that you all know that you mustn't use the butterfly whisk above speed 4. And I'm going to add in here a lemon peel for some flavouring, piece of lemon peel, and a cinnamon stick. It's going to give it a nice flavour. Next, I'm going to put the lid on, and now it's going to cook over on my other machine 15 minutes at 90 degrees. So I'm going to put that onto my other Thermomix and speed 1.5. And I haven't put my things upside down. I haven't put my whisk in properly. I always check. It's the cinnamon stick that's bashing it. Okay, so that's going to cook away. So now I'm going to go through the process of making the pastry. So I've actually got my pastry, one set of pastry already prepared, so that when the custard is finished, I can put it straight in. Okay, find another bowl. And I'm going to go to puff pastry recipe. So this is super quick. It's the quick puff pastry. And really easy. If you want to make something with puff pastry, use it for pies, use it for anything really. It just takes just a few minutes. So
sausage rolls, beef Wellington.
Rolls, yeah. So
what an amazing Valentine's meal that would be. A lovely beef venison Wellington.
So a little bit of preparation beforehand to dice your butter and freeze it for an hour or two beforehand. So the butter needs to be really cold for this. So I've got 200 grams, which I have pre-frozen, cooked out at the beginning of the demo. Soften just like a little bit. Okay, 200 grams of plain flour. Let's have a look. Yep. Oh, it is. Sorry. You've got it weighed out somewhere. 200 grams of plain flour. 90 grams of water. Cup. So a lot of people say, why is it called a measuring cup? Well, if you actually look inside it, there's a couple of measures in there for the 50 and 100 millilitres. So I'm just going to add that in. Quite enough. Okay. And a little bit of salt. Okay, lid on. Okay, and this is just going to mix all that for 20 seconds at speed 6. So that's the first part of the process. The next part of the process is rolling it out. On that mat. So okay, that's finished. Okay, so there it is. It's in my bowl, and it's. I think my butter actually melted a bit too much. So I'm going to pick that out. Yeah.
Yeah, ideally you want to see chunks of butter in there, really.
So they work. I did it earlier today, absolutely worked perfectly, but for some reason that I think I've melted them a little bit too much. It's a bit hotter in here.
Don't worry.
With my light on. So I'm not going to be able to roll that out. So the process of rolling it out, don't know if you can see on the screen, it tells you exactly how to roll it out. So really what you want to do, first of all, I need to, it's all going on the Lavosh again. First of all, I need to just put it into, back into the fridge. So it does need to go into the fridge for a little while. So just shape it, wrap it up in cling film and put it into the fridge for 20 minutes. And I can come back and do the rolling out of that when it's cooled down. I've actually put it in the freezer for 20 minutes, and I'll do the rolling out of that when we come back to me.
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah. That's fine. Do you want to come back to me, Louise? And then I can just come back to the Gougeres. Right. So in here, I did actually, whilst Claire was doing her some of her recipe, I added into here some flour, some mustard powder, some salt and some cayenne pepper. And then it just beat it together for a minute or so. Then I've cooled it down. So I went and put it out to my bowl outside, left it for 10 minutes outside, and I have this. Now, what I'm going to do now, so that this is what the recipe it just taught me. Can you show my second screen as well, Louise? Yeah, brilliant. Let me just get the message off of my screen. I don't want to join audio. So just to show you what that looked like, it wanted me to add in, I weighed in 125 grams of plain flour, some mustard powder, some cayenne pepper, lid on, it beat it for a minute at speed 3. Then I just put it, this is asking you to put it out on a tray and so that it cools more quickly. I just stuck the whole bowl outside with the lid off, does the same job. Got the oven on. Then, now, without the measuring cup. So this is because we're going to crack some eggs directly into it. We've got a minute on the clock. We're going to turn the speed selector to speed 5. Then it says, meanwhile, follow the next step. So there we go. So it's going to go to speed 5. Now, the next step. So click on next, add some medium eggs. I buy all my eggs from a farm. Who knows what weight they are? I can tell that's not medium. That's a pretty large egg. So I'm just going to crack that in and hope for the best. I've got 3 large eggs instead of 4 medium here. I didn't purposely buy large eggs. They just come how they come. A local free-range farm. Just going to put in one at a time through the hole, leaving 10 to 15 seconds between each. Right. Let's just get the last one in. There we are. I feel like I need a spatula in my hand. Here we go. Right, next. So, got near enough. Perfect. Like I said, the Thermomix is all about restaurant quality consistency. So here we go. So there's the basis of my choux pastry. Just done with absolutely no effort. I don't have to stand there whisking it, beating it, worrying about what temperature I've got it at. The Thermomix does it all for me. Then it's going to say, oh, it wants me to mix it. What does it want me to do now? Put the lid in and mix it for 30 seconds at speed 5. Mixing again. There we go. Just to make sure, I guess it's all mixed through. Now, because I haven't done this recipe before, I'm going to have a quick look through at the next step. So now it wants me to add in all of this grated cheese. Here we go. I'm just going to stop that. So you can press the emergency stop button, the speed selector. You've got full manual control of these Thermomixes, so you do not need to worry if you want to add extra ingredients or reduce some of the quantities. You absolutely can. My colleagues mentioned you can scale recipes as well. And by scaling recipes, we mean most of our recipes are written for 4 portions, sometimes 6 portions. If you scale them, you can halve them. Sometimes you can double them, or you can quarter them and scale them to your own requirements. But here I've just stopped it because I can tell that that is fine, that choux pastry. And then click on next. It's asking me to add in the reserved cheese. So all of that goes in. My children might be having these in their packed lunch tomorrow. Put the lid on again. Just going to mix for 20 seconds at speed 3. And then hopefully I'm going to put it into a little piping bag. Have a look. Might not even take 20 seconds, actually. I'm a bit impatient, you can probably tell. Don't have time to hang around. I've got 4 children. Right, let's stop that. Now it says finish mixing by hand with spatula if necessary. Right, so now we're going to just transfer it to a piping bag fitted with a nozzle. So here is that mixture. Here's my piping bag. So you can see I've got a piping bag in here. I've put a little plain round nozzle in the end. Just got a pint glass so I can just easily decant my mixture into the piping bag. She says, like that. Right, I'm not going to worry about getting it all out. Normally, I can't bear waiting in the kitchen, and I actually have to scrape every little last bit out of my Thermomix. My children hate it when we're making cakes because it means there's absolutely nothing left to lick in the bowl. But there we go. So it's gone into the piping bag. But because we're in a bit of a rush this evening, put my baking sheet, I'm not going to worry too much about whether I've got it all out. Then, here we go. I've got a little, I've got a baking sheet lined with a bit of baking paper. Little chef trick. Get your baking paper to stick. Just pop a bit of your mixture on each of the corners. There you go. That'll hold your baking paper down. Right, and now we're just going to pipe. The recipe on the screen tells me what to do. Pipe approximately 50 balls onto the prepared trays, leaving 3 centimeters between each. So here we go. So I'm just going to pipe. You can see, here's my mixture. Does that look about right? About 4 centimeters. I'm just going to pipe them. Don't they look fantastic? I can't wait to taste these. I think I'm going to end up freezing these to be going away on Saturday. Right. So you can see I'm just getting them out like this. Now these, you can either have them as they are, as little nibbles, or you could halve them and fill them with like a smoked salmon mousse. So there is a recipe on Cookie Do for Gougeres with like a smoked salmon sort of pate or mousse, which you can make. So that's the sort of the general idea. So I'm not going to do any more than that. If you don't like the little pointy tops, you can get a wet finger. Have I got any water around? Let me just grab some out of the fridge. Wet finger, and you can just tap them down like that so that you don't get that pointy top. There we go. Right. So I'm going to continue piping these. Then I'm going to put them, let's have a look at the recipe, with a wet, actually it's saying that. There we go. With a wet finger, gently flatten the piece and sprinkle with the remaining reserved grated cheese. Or I might have actually used all the grated cheese in the mixture. Never mind. Sure, it'd be delicious. And then bake 15 to 80 minutes, 200 degrees until golden brown and cooked. And that's what they look like. So very excited to try these. I'm going to be having quite a few for my dinner tonight, given that I haven't actually eaten this evening. And I'm going to hand back to Claire, I think, for her puff pastry.
Can't hear you, Claire.
You're on mute.
Do you want to go back to the prawn and noodle for the stir fry?
Great, actually, because I've just served that up. If it won't take a second. Okay. So yeah, I have finished this process here now. So if you remember, I cooked noodles and we've made a sauce that I've got in my thermoserver here. And then in, I'm not sure which camera you've got the other camera on actually, so I'll show you in there. That is the prawns, which is cooked in with the stir fry, and that's all been ready. So I've actually set this one up ready in process. So we literally just do this noodle mixture and then pour some of the stir fry on the top, sprinkle with a few leaves of coriander, and that, I can tell you, because I've had it before several times, will make one delicious meal.
Okay, I can come back. I have got some puff pastry, which was the leftover from earlier, so I can actually show the process of rolling it out if you want me to do that. Okay. Oh, you've got Louise. Can you go to the other? Well, hang on a second. Use that view if you like.
Yeah, we'll just maybe do one turn, Claire, and then we can just finish with Patty and her cocktail.
So, and my custard's nearly done now. So basically, when you're rolling it out, just roll it out. It tells you to roll it out. I think it's about 60 centimeters long and 20 centimeters wide. So I'm going to roll this out. This is just the leftover from the one I made earlier. And from there, see that? We just fold it on itself, and we give it a turn, and then we roll it again, and we keep doing this. Do it, I think, 3 times in this recipe, and then you put it back in the fridge again just so that it gets cold again before you actually use it. So again, I'm going to fold it so the edges are sealed, and turn it again and roll it out. So I'm going to keep doing that. Well, I'll do it about 3 times, and then I will actually fold it and put it back in the fridge, and then I'll roll it out and I'll cut it out. So I just used my cutter, and I ended up with my tray of tartlets, and my custard is just ready. That was good timing. So take out my whisk, and I'm just going to pour that into my tartlets, and that will be my custard tarts. They'll go in the oven, and oops, my oven beeping again. They'll go in the oven for where did it say? Oops, gone too far. Oops, I've gone past it. So they'll just go in the oven, I think, for about 15 minutes. I'll take that lemon peel out, that doesn't need to go in there. And the cinnamon stick, but they'll give it a nice flavour. And they might be ready by the end of the whole demo. And there may still be 12, but there might be 11. But it is lovely. Okay, so I'm going to put those in the oven now. And I think then hand over to Cutty for the cocktail.
Sean, is that why you're at Cutty's house to sample this amazing cocktail?
Yeah, Sean's come to help me drink it.
I am helping. I've done a bit of washing up.
Are we on?
Yes, you are.
Oh, we are. Oh, how exciting. This is what we're waiting for. Okay, so I have scaled this recipe, and I will show you with my phone camera on how you use the scaled recipes. It's a menu for, it's a recipe for 8. Thought we better not have 8 on a school night. So I've put it down to 4, still enough, but they're quite small glasses. So now it's telling us this is how it comes up on scaled recipes. When you scale them, you scale it in cookie dough. You put it to the amount you want. Not every recipe does it. It's getting better. They're adding more all the time. But then it goes into your created recipes folder. You can't find it. You save it and it goes into your created recipes folder. And this one, so it says lightly wet. It's still saying 8 cocktail glasses, but obviously not doing 8, just doing 2. So I've got some tequila here. And I'm just going to put that around the rim of the glass. Okay, then I've got some sugar in this bowl here. Add sugar there. Looks so professional. There we go. Set those aside, and now I am going to place ice cubes in the mixing bowl. So here you see on the screen it says, and it has a little wiggly line, a green line underneath, ice cubes basically. And you press that and you'll get the weight measurements up. And also another way to get it, just press the scales button at the bottom and it'll do exactly the same thing. Okay, I'll show you exactly the same screen. So I'm going to weigh in about 150 ice cubes. Okay, then I do have to press the cross. And then, because it says 15 seconds, speed 10, again, you can press either that or the blade number there. Okay, so I'm just going to do this at 15 seconds. This is going to be noisy, so you might want to chat, Lindsay, while I'm just doing this, because it'll be quite loud. Oh, God, lid. There we go.
How long is it going on for?
15 seconds, that's all.
Oh, that's okay.
Seconds.
No, don't worry. We'll just.
Okay. Okay, then you just press the next arrow here. So it says it on that one, actually, transfer to a jug and set aside. Now this is slightly different from the other margarita, the normal margarita, because you do it all in one. And actually we just thought this would be a bit different, bit of red for a bit of love, bit of cranberry, bit of your 5 a day. Okay. So I would usually, we did talk about, didn't we, Sean, about doing the lime and the cranberries, always them up first, and then do the ice. But anyway, we thought it'd be good and follow the actual recipes. There we go. Right. Place ice cubes and mix and bowl, done that. A little arrow there. Place cranberries. Right, again, I'm going to press cranberries. It's going to give me the whole list of ingredients here. So I'm going to do the cranberries. Then I'm just going to press tare, whatever it is, 60 grams of tequila. Okay. Oh, oops, a bit over, never mind. And then the cranberry juice, 100 grams of cranberry juice.
You sure you're halving this recipe, Sarah?
No, I promise. That's why Sean's here to help me drink it. Can't waste it. 25 grams of sugar. Don't forget to tare it. There we go. I've cut the sugar down a little bit, being healthy and everything. And then 1 lime with all the pith off and the pith peeled and the pith removed. So I'm just going to pop all that in. And then you just have to press the cross on the scaled recipes. And then here it says 1 minute, 30 seconds. So this is going to take 1 minute, 30 seconds, okay, at speed 10. So I'm going to press the blade this time, and it gives me the same screen. All right. It just take a bit of getting used to the scale.
So is that a minute and a half, Catty? It's a minute and a half. Louise, do you want to just come back to me very quickly? Clearly I'm eating this. The delicious, I think I might have put a little bit of extra chili in there, but I've just finally worked out actually what I'm going to do with these cheesy balls tomorrow, because we've got having a load of gravel laid outside, new stones. So I'm going to keep everybody supplied with lots of cheesy balls tomorrow. I'm sure they'll be very happy with that. So you can see, if you can just spotlight my other Thermomix as well, Louise. Sorry, I know I'm being a bit of a pain. I've actually put a timer on. So I've got my balls in the oven now. I'm counting down 15 minutes on the timer. So this is an example of one of the new software updates. We've now got a timer on the Thermomix, which is really useful actually, because it means you don't have to set echo, you don't have to have a separate timer in your kitchen. So let me just take that off. And then while sort of we're waiting for Cutty, what I just wanted to show you to finish off very quickly for those that haven't got a Thermomix yet, because of course we've got a lot of owners on here who know all about the functions of Thermomix, but just very, very quickly, why this appliance is so special. I'm just going to swipe across. I'm going to show you how many different appliances one machine replaces. So of course, you've got your weighing scales. We've talked about that. You can chop, you can grate, you can mince with your Thermomix. You can make bread dough. So it will replace a bread maker. It won't bake the dough for you, but it will prove the dough. And it will make your dough in 2 to 3 minutes. You've got a turbo function on here as well, which is just an intense pulse of speed on a food processor. This is great for making grains into flour, for example, or grinding up sugar into icing sugar. You've got pre-clean mode, you can blend with it, you can boil your eggs to how you like it. You can use it as a kettle, you can warm up your food, you can thicken, which is brilliant for sauces like hollandaise or bechamel. You can use it as a rice cooker, you can make yogurt, you can slow cook, you can sous vide, you can peel your potatoes, and finally you can grate and slice. Obviously, Sue showed us that this evening. Showed us some of the slicing functions with her gratin dauphinoise. Right, so are we ready, ladies, to go back to you?
20 seconds.
10 seconds, 10 seconds.
Okay,
hang on.
That's fine. Pop back to me. Then you might have picked up on here on the screen that we are working off something called My Week. So through the Cookie Do app, which is this really, really unique app, you have got the ability to plan out what you want to eat on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. So that is all done through the Cookie Do app, which is stored on the cloud. This syncs to your Cookie Do app. You can look at your weekly planner, so you can see I put all my recipes that I was interested in cooking today onto my weekly planner. So they're available there for you at the touch of the button. From here, you can create a shopping list of ingredients for those recipes. So you can easily transfer those recipes onto a shopping list. Then it doesn't stop there. You can transfer those ingredients to your online shopping provider, and you can check the prices at any one of our shopping partners. There's currently 4 or 5 of them. We've got Tesco, Waitrose, Sainsbury's, Ocado, and Amazon Fresh as well. So you can choose where you want to do your shopping. You can compare store prices. You can swap out some of the ingredients if you want branded products or non-branded products. You've got full control over that. Then you can add it to your basket and then complete the checkout process with your provider of choice. So that is, again, how we have find lots of customers save money, being able to easily compare store prices. It's just one of the extra features that owning a Thermomix brings you. Just this ability to be able to plan what you want to cook, shop for the ingredients, make the whole process from start to finish super easy. And then at the end of it, it will do the washing up for you, cook you a wonderful meal, and it doesn't answer back. Winner. Right, let's go back to Cutty and Sean to show us their cranberry cocktail.
Hi, here we go.
I'm glad we did this at the end and maybe not at the start.
I know, and on a school night. Superb. I don't think they're going to be as strong as the normal margaritas.
But we'll find
You
out.
we'll find out. Hang on, I've got to do it first. But I did actually just put the ice back in there and we whizzed it up and added the extra cranberry juice. But the normal margaritas don't have any juice in. It's just the orange liqueur, ice, and tequila. But we will try these. But take a picture first.
Yeah,
actually,
it's great to be able to try and sample new things. And actually, they were on my to-do list at Christmas, and I never got round to them. So I'm glad that you've done them for me. What are they like?
Good, but they're not as strong. You could add more tequila if you wanted, or not.
In your professional opinion,
My
professional. I'm driving home. She only lives around the corner, doesn't she, Daph?
Yeah, she's only in the village up the road, so
yeah. She might be walking.
Yeah, she'll be walking tonight, definitely.
Yeah, walking tonight.
Well, try.
Trying.
Oh, hang on.
Yeah. No, well, I went to get them out, but they're not quite
Look
done.
at these.
But I'm going to show you.
Look at those.
That's the.
They look delicious.
Soft backs still. These just look and smell superb.
And these.
And they're the white baps.
You forgot to show us your buns.
Then you've got to show you our baps.
The other one. Yeah. Do you want those in a bit longer?
Yeah, we'll pop them in a couple of minutes more, I think. Yeah.
The spread looks amazing. I'm very jealous for tomorrow morning because that is just going to be brilliant.
All good in Tilton.
Yeah. I'm coming round. Right. So there we go. Now, what else have we got to show? I've kind of lost track. It's been a bit of a long one this evening. I'm assuming the Portuguese custard tarts are not ready yet.
No, they've got another 5 minutes to go on those.
Another 5 minutes. How about the Lavosh?
Yeah,
Claire,
they are.
does that come out of the oven?
That's out the oven. Don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? Oh, there we go. I've just broken it up. So it comes out obviously in the rectangle and you just break it up into the size that you want. And so any sort of size.
Yeah,
and it's delicious and crisp. It's
Great.
really good.
Well, we look forward to seeing the pictures of the Portuguese custard tarts. We will share. Yeah, we will share everything on the Thermomix Gougeres customer group. So if you're not already members of that, please do join it. We hope you've enjoyed this evening's session. Owners, this is one of the things that we do to support you guys, to inspire you to try new recipes, so that you get joy out of your Thermomix every day, and we can ensure that you are getting the best value for money out of it. If you've got any prospective owners this evening or at some point in the future that watching this back and you want to purchase a Thermomix, please do go back to the advisor that has invited you to join the session, or do ask, if you've got a friend that's directed you to call, ask your friend to direct you to their advisor. We cannot express how fantastic this machine is. Hopefully we've given you just a snapshot of some of the things it can do. One machine is going to make you bread, it can make you main meals, it can make you risotto, soups, stews, curries, puddings, breads, cocktails, all of those sorts of things easily. It will walk you through it step by step. It will do your shopping for you. It will clear up afterwards. It really is one of the best things that you can buy. So we hope we've inspired some of you to want to purchase a Thermomix this evening. And it will make you have a lot of fun in the kitchen, put some of that love back into cooking, inspire you to try new things. And that is what the community is all about. So please do check in on the Thermomix with customer group. We'll be posting all of the finished recipes that we've cooked this evening so that you can see them. Do keep sharing your recipes with us. We love seeing your creations and what you make. That I think we have just concluded this evening. So thank you everybody for joining. Thank you, Louise, for doing the admin and answering questions. I did have one question on marshmallows, actually, just very quickly before I finish, how long they last. They don't last very long in this house, I can tell you, Lynn. But I would say if you keep them in a cool place, they're going to be good for a week or so. But just, you know, use your own sort of eyes. If they are starting to degrade and get a bit watery, then they've obviously gone past their best. But if you keep them cool, they should be good. Or you can even keep them in the fridge if you wanted to. They will be good for at least a week, if not more. So thank you everybody for joining us this evening. It's been a bit of a long one. We will be back next month with a different theme, lots more cooking for you, and hopefully you will go away now and have the confidence to try some of the recipes that we've shown you, and please do share your creations with us on the Facebook group. Thank you everybody. Stop recording, and I can have some